That a man couldn't summon light from filaments, couldn't force metal and electricity to speak across wires, couldn't fly machines through the air or pull steel monsters across the continent. They told him the world was fixed, final, and unforgiving. But the world was wrong, it always is. Until belief proves it otherwise, what is belief? It is not a wish, not a whisper, not some flimsy, emotional affirmation said once in the morning and abandoned by noon. True belief is fire, it is steel, it is war in the soul, the kind that refuses to lose. It is the man who, while bleeding, crawling, and laughed at by all, tightens his jaw and says, "Watch me." That's the man the world bows to. Not the lucky, not the privileged, but the relentless, the one who does not flinch, who does not blink, who doesn't ask for permission to rise. He declares it. Napoleon Hill wrote of this force a blazing certainty, stronger than talent, louder than education, and deeper than fear. He called it faith. Not the religious kind, but the kind you build moment by moment, action by action, day by day, until you are no longer hoping for success, you are expecting it. Every great empire, invention, revolution, every leap of mankind was born first in the furnace of someone's unbreakable belief. Walt Disney was told he lacked imagination. Henry Ford was told the horse was faster. Edison failed 10,000 times and still didn't see failure, he saw progress, because relentless belief does not measure success in moments, it measures it in movement. It is not waiting to feel ready. It is declaring readiness in spite of how you feel. It is walking through the storm, not around it. It is hearing no 1,000 times and answering with one more yes. And here's the truth no one tells you. The world wants you to quit. It tests you with rejection, with silence, with failure. It dares you to fold, because it only respects what cannot be broken. So if you've been told you're not enough good, that's the rite of passage. If you've been laughed at excellent, that means your vision threatens their comfort. If you've fallen flat on your face perfect, now we see what you're made of, because belief, real belief, only begins where certainty ends. You want to know who wins. It's not the most talented. It's not the one who had the best upbringing, the best mentors, the best luck. It's the one who made a decision and never surrendered it. Burn the ships, cut off retreat, decide, this is it. This is who I am. This is what I will do. And the world can either move or get trampled. Every man or woman who ever changed history had this core, a definiteness of purpose. That phrase again and again in Hill's writings, because without it, you're a leaf in the wind, you drift, you waver. But with it, with purpose fused to belief, you become a force of nature. You don't try, you do, you don't wish. You build, you don't sit around praying for signs, you become the sign. And when people say, "But how do I know it will work?" you don't. That's the point. Faith means betting on yourself before the odds say yes. It's jumping and growing wings on the way down. It's walking into a dark room with nothing but your vision to light the way and walking anyway. Because belief creates clarity, and clarity creates movement, and movement builds the momentum that cracks open every locked door. You can either be ruled by doubt or rise through belief, but you can't serve both. One must be your master, so choose. The man who walks in belief changes his posture. He speaks with conviction. He looks beyond the noise and sees the vision already real. And the world, though it resists, though it mocks, though it claws, eventually must kneel. Because there's nothing more powerful than a soul that has decided. Not wondered, not wished, not hoped, decided. Because once a man decides, the universe begins to bend not instantly, not always visibly, but slowly, surely, inevitably. It begins with the mind. The world is built in thought before it's built in stone. Every skyscraper, every empire, every break through that ever shifted the course of humanity, it was once nothing but a whisper in someone's mind. A vision no one else could see, a truth no one else could touch. The man who walks in relentless belief knows this. Thought is the foundation of reality. Control the thought and you command the outcome. Doubt corrodes the foundation. Fear eats the structure from the inside. But belief hardens the walls and raises the roof. It fortifies, it elevates, it builds. Napoleon Hill said it best. Whatever the mind of man can conceive and believe, it can achieve. But this is not just poetry, it's law. You will never rise above the image you hold of yourself. You will never outgrow the limitations you secretly cling to. If you see yourself as small, life will shrink to fit that vision. But if you dare to see yourself as unstoppable, as destined, as necessary, life will rise to meet you. Lincoln believed in a freer world before the battlefield ever proved him right. Carnegie believed in steel before a single beam was laid. Oprah believed in worth before anyone offered her a stage. And you must believe in the version of yourself the world cannot yet see. Because the world doesn't give you what you want, it gives you what you expect. Not in words, not in fake confidence, but in deep, silent certainty, the kind that doesn't flinch when it fails, the kind that doesn't beg for validation, the kind that doesn't need applause to keep moving forward. This kind of belief is a discipline, a practice. You don't wake up one day with it fully formed. You build it repetition by repetition, decision by decision. You choose every day to silence the voice of doubt and amplify the voice of destiny. You catch yourself when your thoughts drift into weakness, and you drag them back by the collar into strength. You train your mind like a soldier, ruthlessly, unapologetically, because the battlefield is not out there, it is between your ears. And every day most people lose that war. They get up and check the world before they check their mission. They respond to criticism before they respond to calling. They react to noise instead of creating from silence. But not you, not if you are to rise. You must think for yourself. You must dream with defiance. You must look at reality not as it is but as it must become. That is what leaders do. That is what creators do. That is what legends do. They walk ahead of the evidence. They plant seeds in deserts. They speak as if it already is until the world has no choice but to catch up. This is not delusion. This is vision fused with conviction. This is the way Edison lit the world. This is the way Mandela broke chains. This is the way Tesla sparked the future. And it is the only way you will ever rise to the summit life built for you. Understand this. Belief must become your default state. Not just in moments of excitement, but in moments of exhaustion. Not just when the results come, but when nothing seems to be moving. Not just when they cheer, but when they jeer, especially when they jeer. Because relentless belief doesn't depend on evidence, it creates it. You are not waiting to feel worthy. You are training yourself to know it. You are not praying for signs, you are becoming one. You are not asking if the dream is possible, you are commanding it into existence. That's the power of belief. It's not passive, it's not soft, it's not nice. It is ferocious, it is immovable, it is the starting line of every revolution. And if you want the world to bow, you must first kneel to your own mission, humble yourself to the work, dedicate yourself to the process, give your blood to the path, because belief is proven not by what you say, but by what you do. Day after day, in the dark, when no one sees, when no one claps, when everything feels like it's slipping and you still rise, that's the belief the world cannot deny. That's the belief that moves mountains and bends history. And that is the belief that lives inside you if you have the courage to awaken it. Because when belief becomes your backbone, the storms don't break you, they forge you. You stop flinching at resistance. You stop asking life to be easy. You stop waiting for conditions to be perfect. You become the condition. You become the storm. You walk into uncertainty like a king returning to his throne, not because the path is clear, but because your vision is. And that vision, that clear, burning picture of where you are going, it becomes your compass, not the applause, not the followers, not the numbers, just the vision, just the mission, just the truth. Do you know how Ford changed the world? Not with money, not with power, but with an idea that burned hotter than anyone's doubt. While others told him the car would never replace the horse, he believed anyway. He kept sketching, building, refining. He didn't chase permission, he imposed intention. That's the difference between those who move the world and those who are moved by it. The world tries to hand you its fear, its doubt, its distraction, its mediocrity. But when your belief is real, when it's relentless, you reject it all like poison. You build your life like it's sacred, like every second matters, like every step counts. Because it does. There is no neutral ground in this war. Every decision you make either moves you closer to your destiny or drags you deeper into regret. So, how do you live with intention, with clarity? With fire, you wake up and remind yourself you are not here to survive, you are here to dominate. You are here to stretch the limits of possibility, to leave something behind that echoes after you're gone. Not a job title, not a trophy, but a legacy, and legacy is not built in convenience. It's built in the crucible, in the fire of hard decisions, in the discipline of relentless days. Discipline, that's where belief becomes muscle. That's where desire becomes reality, because belief without discipline is just a wish. You must act on what you say you want, not when it's easy, not when you feel like it, but especially when it's brutal. That's the price of greatness, and it's non-negotiable. Walt Disney faced bankruptcy, rejection, betrayal. His first studio was stolen from him. He lost his rights, his characters, everything, but he didn't crumble. He doubled down. He sketched a mouse, and that mouse became the foundation of an empire. Why? Because belief held the pen when doubt tried to erase the page. That's the level you need to reach. Not belief in fairy tales, but belief in yourself, when the world hands you every reason to fold. Because that's when you're tested. That's when the world leans in and asks, do you really mean it? And how you answer in action, not words, defines everything. So when the day comes that life punches you in the mouth, and it will, you don't cry. You don't run, you smile, because that's the moment your belief becomes proof. That's the moment you rise, not because it's easy, but because you are built for it. Your adversity is not an accident, it's a furnace. And only the forged survive, so let the world doubt. Let them whisper, let them point. You don't need them to believe, you need you to believe, because one man with fire can change the fate of millions who are frozen. And if you keep walking with clarity, with purpose, with unshakable belief, the world will bow, not to your name, but to the force you became. And let me tell you something most people never hear in their entire life. You don't get what you want. You get what you believe you are destined for. That's why the world mirrors your level of self-conviction. It reflects what you truly expect, not what you casually wish for. You can scream affirmations all day, but if you whisper doubt in your heart, your life will listen to the whisper. So you must declare war on that whisper. You must wake up and reprogram your spirit to see opportunity where others see ruin, to hear progress in the silence of solitude, to see victory even when you're knee deep in failure. Because relentless belief is not about never falling, it's about refusing to stay down. Abraham Lincoln lost 8 elections, 8 brutal failures. He was mocked, written off, dismissed as delusional. But something burned in him that no defeat could extinguish, and when he rose, he didn't just win a presidency. He shaped the soul of a nation, because belief backed by purpose is more powerful than any army. You have that power right now, not when the money comes, not when the world claps now, but you must choose it over comfort, over distraction, over the fake dopamine of social approval, because the path of belief is lonely at first. The crowds don't show up in the beginning, the likes don't come, the cheers are silent. All you'll have is your fire, and if that fire is real, if it's not some borrowed quote, not some fleeting inspiration, but a deep, soul-level declaration, you'll keep showing up anyway. You'll write the book no one's reading. You'll build the business no one believes in. You'll train like a champion long before the belt exists, because belief builds empires in the dark, and one day the lights will come on. And the world will pretend they always knew you were destined. They'll say, of course you made it. I saw it in you. But don't believe them. They didn't see it. You saw it. You saw it when you had nothing. You saw it when the world laughed. You saw it when your knees buckled and your eyes burned, but you kept going. That's belief, not delusion, decision. You decided to become what you saw. You married vision to discipline. You buried excuses and gave birth to action, and now the world can't look away, not because they finally understand you, but because they finally can't deny you. That's what happens when you live with relentless belief. You shift from invisible to undeniable, from overlooked to unshakable, because belief isn't just mental, it's magnetic. It pulls the people, it attracts the moments, it bends the universe toward your direction if you refuse to quit. Every moment you show up, you're rewriting your destiny. Every action taken in faith is a brick in the fortress of your future. And listen, your future doesn't need more doubt. It doesn't need more fear. It needs you, all of you, unapologetically. The world doesn't change from the hands of the cautious. It bends to the will of the relentless. So the question is not, can you? The question is, will you believe long enough to become? Because when you do, when you hold the line through hell, when you build when others sleep, when you believe when even your voice shakes, the world has no choice but to move for you. And when the world moves, when mountains shift and doors swing open, you'll know it wasn't chance. It was you, not the version the world tried to mold, not the tame, watered-down copy they asked you to become, but the real you, the you that stood tall in silence, the you that kept going without applause, the you that never needed a stage to believe he was meant for one. Because belief is not something you shout, it's something you prove. And proof doesn't always come in trophies or headlines. Sometimes it comes in the choice to keep walking when every bone screams stop. Sometimes it's the quiet decision to get up again, with no spotlight, no credit, just conviction. That's what they never show you, the grind behind greatness, the nights you pace the floor, not because you're lost, but because the dream is too big to sleep. The mornings you rise with eyes that burn but a soul that blazes. This isn't about motivation, it's about mission, and when belief fuels your mission, you become dangerous, because the man with a mission doesn't wait, he moves. He doesn't ask permission, he executes. He doesn't shrink to fit. He expands to lead. That's what they felt in Carnegie's handshake. That's what they heard in Churchill's voice. That's what they saw in Rosa Parks' silence. They weren't reacting to the moment, they were acting on belief that had already been forged in the fire of struggle. You want the world to feel your presence, then become someone who believes louder than their circumstances. You want the room to fall silent when you enter, then carry the weight of vision in your eyes, because there is no force more feared, more respected, than a soul set on fire by certainty. And make no mistake, certainty is not arrogance. It's not ego, it's alignment. You're not better than anyone, but you are done pretending you're less. That's belief. It doesn't scream, look at me. It whispers, watch me. And watch they will. They'll watch as you build what they said was impossible. They'll watch as you rise after every fall. They'll watch as you create momentum from thin air, and they'll call it luck, because they never understood the work. But you will. You'll know every second you bled for this. Every decision you made when no one was watching. Every rejection you turned into fuel. Every sacrifice you chose over comfort. And when the results finally explode into view, when the world bows, not to your name, but to your grit, you'll smile. Not because you need the applause, but because you earned the echo. You'll know you were never just chasing a dream, you were becoming it. So burn this into your spirit. The dream does not serve the man who hopes. It serves the man who believes with action. The dream does not wait for approval. It demands your decision. And when that decision is made in full, with no exit plan, no retreat, No wavering, you become inevitable. That's the word that echoes through history when belief collides with discipline. Not lucky, not talented, inevitable, because when belief is backed by unshakable work, when vision is married to daily action, the outcome is no longer up for debate. It's a matter of time. And time bows to the relentless. It bends to those who refuse to fold. It opens doors to those who keep knocking when their fists bleed. It rewards those who do what must be done, long after the feeling is gone. Anyone can feel inspired for a day. Anyone can believe when things are easy, but the world isn't changed by moments of hype. It's changed by years of grit. It's changed by the man who sharpens his mind like a blade while others numb theirs with distraction. It's changed by the woman who builds her purpose while the world scrolls past theirs. It's changed by the souls who embrace the solitude of their climb because they know that mountain doesn't care about feelings. It only responds to those who keep climbing. That's what Ford understood when they laughed at his single-cylinder engine. That's what Edison proved after 10-0. 0 failed attempts to birth light from glass and wire. That's what Disney believed when he was told he lacked imagination and still drew a world that now outlives him. Because belief isn't just a seed, it's a weapon, a spiritual sword in a world that wants you small. And once you realize that, once you own that, you stop begging for success and you start commanding your path. But be warned, the world will test you, you will be mocked, you will be misunderstood, you will be underestimated, especially by those who gave up on their own dream. And that is your advantage, because while they waste their breath doubting, you will use yours to build. While they seek shortcuts, you will master the fundamentals. While they ask, why is it so hard? You will whisper, because it's worth it. That's the mind of the uncommon. That's the heartbeat of those who shift history, not just with ideas, but with action repeated relentlessly. And in that repetition, that daily grind that no one sees, you become something else entirely. Not just a dreamer, not just a believer, but a force of clarity, a force of motion, a force of will. You won't need to speak it. It will radiate from you. You'll walk differently, breathe differently, command attention without seeking it. Because true belief transforms your state of being. And when you walk in that state long enough, reality has no choice but to catch up. It has to. Because reality follows identity. And once your identity becomes unstoppable, your outcomes do too. So stop negotiating with doubt. Stop entertaining the old version of you who begged for crumbs. You are here to demand the feast, not from others but from life, from yourself. Every day you delay is a day you surrender to someone else's story, and this world is already full of borrowed narratives. What it needs, what it's starving for, is someone who writes their own. Someone who doesn't fold under pressure, but becomes pressure. Someone who doesn't adapt to mediocrity, but demolishes it. That someone is you if you decide. So decide, right now. Decide that this is not just another speech, not another moment of fire that fades. Decide that this is your line in the sand, because belief alone means nothing if it dies in the moment. It must live in your behavior. It must breathe in your choices. It must fight in your actions. Then, and only then, the world will move. And when it moves, it won't move gently. It will quake. It will shift like an empire crumbling under the feet of one man who finally stopped doubting. Because when you decide, fully, finally, without apology, you don't just change your life. You change the frequency of everything around you. See, the world isn't led by the smartest. It's led by the most certain, the ones whose conviction cuts through chaos like a blade through fog. They're not waiting for signs. They are the sign. They don't hope to be chosen. They choose themselves. And when you walk in that truth with spine unbending and vision unblurred, you don't ask life for favors. You command life with intention. You declare, this is who I am, this is where I'm going, and nothing, Not fear, not failure, not time will turn me around. And life listens to that kind of roar. It rearranges for those who refuse to break. It conspires for those who believe so deeply they make the impossible their new standard. That's not fantasy. That's physics of the soul. You see, belief is not just emotional, it's energetic. It shifts your biology. It changes the way you speak, the way you think, the way you show up. And when belief becomes your foundation, discipline becomes your structure. Because the man who believes doesn't wait for motivation. He moves, he wakes up tired and still shows up. He falls down hard and still gets up. He's not looking for balance, he's building a legacy. That's why vision without work is dead. That's why dreams without habits rot in silence. It is the one who moves forward when the fire is gone that becomes the flame. So look around, this world, this distracted, addicted, reactive world, it's begging for an example, someone to follow, someone to prove that faith in self is not a myth. Let that be you. Let your days be a sermon. Let your work be a war cry. Let your presence be so anchored, so certain, so full, that people feel safer just standing near you, not because you told them something, because you showed them what belief looks like when it walks. Think of Mandela, locked in a cell for 27 years, yet still carried the belief of a free nation in his heart. Think of Oprah, told she didn't belong on television, yet believed so deeply she rewrote the standard. Think of every outlier, every rebel, every titan who refused to fold. They weren't waiting for odds to be fair. They were making odds irrelevant, and so must you. You will not be spared from pain. You will not be immune to setbacks. But you will become unbreakable because of them, and in time the pain will become pride. The struggle will become strength, and the fire in your gut will become the fuel that feeds millions, but only if you keep walking. So walk with trembling legs if you must, with doubt whispering lies in your ear if you must, but walk, because motion creates power, and power creates proof, and proof, that's when the world can no longer ignore you. That's when your presence alone alters outcomes. That's when doors open before you knock. That's when the world bows, not to who you are, but to who you decided to become. And when they do bow, don't let it make you arrogant. Let it make you grateful, grateful not for the applause, but for the pain that forged you. Grateful not for the trophies, but for the nights you cried and kept going anyway. Grateful not for the crown, but for the moments you bled, bent, broke, and still chose belief. Because that's where greatness lives, not in comfort, but in contradiction, not in the ease, but in the endurance, not in perfection, but in the power of a mind that refuses to die quietly. This world worships comfort. But comfort never made kings. It was adversity, trial, uncertainty that sculpted the legends. Do you understand? The reason most never rise is because they wait for certainty. But certainty is not given. It's declared. It's built by fire walkers who step into the unknown with a voice in their soul that screams, I don't need to know the path, because I'll make one. That's who you must become now, the path maker. The fire starter, the one who stands in front of doubt, of delay, of disbelief, and doesn't flinch. Because here's the truth no one tells you. Belief alone is not enough. You must defend it with your habits, with your thoughts, with your rituals, with your sacrifice. Yes, sacrifice. You will lose friends who don't understand. You will be judged, ridiculed, talked about. You will feel alone, but remember the eagle flies alone. The lion walks alone, and the mountain peak is not crowded. Do not seek the crowd. Seek the climb, and on that climb, when your lungs are burning and your legs tremble, when your old self screams, just go back down. Don't listen. Because something sacred lives on the other side of that pain. Something undeniable. A power that doesn't whisper anymore. It roars, and in that roar you realize you were never chasing success. You were chasing the version of you that always knew you were capable of more. And now here you are, standing on the edge of it, so let it out, Let the world feel you. Let your story burn into history. Let your light scorch the darkness around those who still don't believe, because belief, real belief, is contagious. It shakes rooms, it wakes dead hearts, it resurrects destinies. That is your calling now, not just to win but to ignite others, to walk so boldly in your truth that others say, if they can, maybe I can too, and maybe, just maybe, the dream they buried will breathe again. That's the power of relentless belief. It doesn't stop with you. It creates ripples. It awakens nations. It writes new history, but it starts in silence. It starts in the dark. It starts when no one is clapping and everything in you says stop and you don't. And because you don't, the world changes. That is the truth. That is the law. That is the legacy. So now, the question is no longer can you. The question is, will you? Will you choose the fire? Will you embrace the climb? Will you walk alone until they can't deny you? Because if you will, then understand the world doesn't just notice. The world bows. Listen closely. This journey you've chosen is not a path paved with ease or approval. It is a battlefield where every victory is forged through sacrifice, where every breakthrough is born in the fire of relentless persistence. The giants of history, Edison, Carnegie, Lincoln, Ford, did not stand because the world bowed to their talents. It bowed to their unyielding belief in themselves, their mission, and the vision no one else could yet see. Imagine Edison in his dark workshop, hundreds of failures behind him, surrounded by the weight of doubt and despair. Yet he whispered to himself, I have not failed. I have just found 10 zeros. 0 ways that won't work. That relentless belief was his compass, a force that propelled him through night after night until the world was forever changed by the light he brought forth. That's the same fire you carry inside, a fire that will never be extinguished unless you hand it over to the voices of fear and hesitation. But you won't. You will nurture it, feed it with clarity of purpose and the discipline of daily action, because belief, when partnered with discipline, becomes unstoppable. Discipline is the backbone of every empire. Carnegie did not become a titan of industry by wishing for wealth. He forged it through tireless work, through decisions made in quiet moments while others slept, through sacrifice while others celebrated. The world does not reward the dreamer. It rewards the doer, the relentless pursuer who turns vision into reality with unwavering focus. But discipline alone is not enough if it lacks clarity. Clarity is the light piercing the fog of doubt. It is the precise image of your future self etched so vividly in your mind that hesitation fades into irrelevance. Disney imagined a world where dreams could come alive, and that clarity turned a cartoonist's sketches into a global kingdom. His belief was so absolute, so vivid, that the doubters melted away like shadows at dawn. So, cultivate clarity. Picture your purpose with such sharpness that the path is unavoidable. When you see your goal as clearly as the sunrise, every step forward becomes inevitable. When vision and belief combine, they become a force of nature, a tidal wave that sweeps away every excuse, every fear, every limiting thought. But even with belief, discipline, and clarity, the world will challenge you. Adaptability will be your armor. The greats never clung stubbornly to one plan. Lincoln navigated war, defeat, and political storms by bending without breaking. Ford revolutionized industry by refusing to let failure define him, constantly evolving and innovating. Resilience, fueled by belief, will become your closest ally. It is the refusal to let setbacks define you, the power to rise each time you fall. The path to greatness is not a straight line. It is a relentless spiral upward, forged through grit, learning, and relentless action. And through it all, gratitude will sustain you. Not the shallow gratitude of convenience, but the deep, soul-rooted gratitude that acknowledges every hardship as a stepping stone. This gratitude keeps your spirit anchored when the world tries to shake you loose. Belief is your genesis, discipline is your journey, Clarity is your direction. Adaptability is your survival. Resilience is your strength, and gratitude is your soul. When these forces align, you become a living testament to the power of relentless belief. So step forward now, not as the person who dreams quietly in the night, but as the one who commands the day with unstoppable conviction. The world is waiting, and it will bow, not because it must, but because it recognizes the unstoppable power of a soul that will not be broken. Listen closely. This journey you've chosen is not a path paved with ease or approval. It is a battlefield where every victory is forged through sacrifice, where every breakthrough is born in the fire of relentless persistence. The giants of history, Edison, Carnegie, Lincoln, Ford, did not stand because the world bowed to their talents. It bowed to their unyielding belief in themselves, their mission, and the vision no one else could yet see. Imagine Edison in his dark workshop, hundreds of failures behind him, surrounded by the weight of doubt and despair. Yet he whispered to himself, "I have not failed. I have just found 10 zeros. Zero ways that won't work." That relentless belief was his compass, a force that propelled him through night after night until the world was forever changed by the light he brought forth. That's the same fire you carry inside, a fire that will never be extinguished unless you hand it over to the voices of fear and hesitation. But you won't. You will nurture it, feed it with clarity of purpose and the discipline of daily action. Because belief, when partnered with discipline, becomes unstoppable. Discipline is the backbone of every empire. Carnegie did not become a titan of industry by wishing for wealth. He forged it through tireless work, through decisions made in quiet moments while others slept, through sacrifice while others celebrated. The world does not reward the dreamer. It rewards the doer, the relentless pursuer who turns vision into reality with unwavering focus. But discipline alone is not enough if it lacks clarity. Clarity is the light piercing the fog of doubt. It is the precise image of your future self etched so vividly in your mind that hesitation fades into irrelevance. Disney imagined a world where dreams could come alive, and that clarity turned a cartoonist's sketches into a global kingdom. His belief was so absolute, so vivid, that the doubters melted away like shadows at dawn. So cultivate clarity. Picture your purpose with such sharpness that the path is unavoidable. When you see your goal as clearly as the sunrise, every step forward becomes inevitable. When vision and belief combine, they become a force of nature, a tidal wave that sweeps away every excuse, every fear, every limiting thought. But even with belief, discipline, and clarity, the world will challenge you. Adaptability will be your armor. The greats never clung stubbornly to one plan. Lincoln navigated war, defeat, and political storms by bending without breaking. Ford revolutionized industry by refusing to let failure define him, constantly evolving and innovating. Resilience, fueled by belief, will become your closest ally. It is the refusal to let setbacks define you, the power to rise each time you fall. The path to greatness is not a straight line. It is a relentless spiral upward, forged through grit, learning, and relentless action. And through it all, gratitude will sustain you, not the shallow gratitude of convenience, but the deep, soul-rooted gratitude that acknowledges every hardship as a stepping stone. This gratitude keeps your spirit anchored when the world tries to shake you loose. Belief is your genesis. Discipline is your journey. Clarity is your direction. Adaptability is your survival. Resilience is your strength. And gratitude is your soul. When these forces align, you become a living testament to the power of relentless belief. So step forward now, not as the person who dreams quietly in the night, but as the one who commands the day with unstoppable conviction. The world is waiting, and it will bow, not because it must, but because it recognizes the unstoppable power of a soul that will not be broken,